Good afternoon. Today it's story time. I thought I would share with you how my son got me started as a knitter. So my son is now 24. I have two sons. My younger son, he's now 24. When he was a freshman in high school, for whatever reason, he decided to take fashion. Actually, I know the reason. The reason is because it peeves him a little bit that women's fashion is so much more attended to than men's. And for example, if you go into a big department store, the women's section is inevitably on the first floor, way more accessible than the men's. The options available to women are always bigger. Not that they're better made, right? Because I think personally that men's clothing is made better. But it just seemed to him that men's fashion didn't receive the emphasis that women's fashion did. So he took this course. He was one of three guys in there. I teased him sometimes. I was like, you just want to be picking up girls in there, don't you? So I don't think he did pick up any girls there. He found his current girlfriend in college. But in any case, I met the instructor. She's really nice. She's great. And one of the things that she had the kids do was learn to knit and knit a scarf. So my son was like, well, I have to do this knitting project. And I said, okay. And by that time, I think our good knitting store had left. I don't know, might have still been there. But in any case, we ended up going to Walmart to find what he needed. And it was kind of fun to go with him and pick out the yarn that he wanted to use to make his sweater and pick out the needles and all that stuff. And of course, we ended up going with something that was inexpensive, because we figured, well, how far into this is he going to get? Maybe not very far. As it turned out, that was the only thing he's ever knitted. It was kind of a bit of an interesting story behind it, though. So we finished this little section of this sock. It's getting close to done. This is some wool I picked up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So this is the yarn that we picked up. I've long since lost the label. All of this happened a little over 9 years ago. This is not, fancy yarn. It's probably mostly acrylic. I don't know if there's any wool or cotton in there at all. But it's kind of a fun colorway. I can see why he picked it. And obviously for me, it didn't cost much. These are the needles that we got. So just your standard metal knitting needles that we associate with grannies. Not that he ever had that association, because he never saw any grandmother knit. In any case, here's what he came up with. So this is the scarf he knit. As you can tell, it's garter stitch, straight forward, and I'm not even sure which was the cast on edge and which was I'm guessing this is the bind off. Looks a little bit rough, but the bottom edge is beautiful. And as you can imagine, he's my baby, so I cherish this this scarf that he knit. Now, for a while, he decided that he wanted to gift this to his then girlfriend, and if he's listening, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, then their relationship kind of broke up. It was all very sad and everything, but I encouraged him to retrieve his scarf, because it was like the one and only scarf he ever knitted, and I was like, I gotta have that around here. So we retrieved it. He did so in a way that was a little, it was kind of secret, and he felt like it was a little risky. Breaking and entering. No, just teasing. But in any case, that's the scarf he knit, and it's pulls perfectly with this yarn. So I still have, I don't know, I could make some cat toys with this or something. I could encourage him to resume his career. So when he got involved in that, I was thinking to myself, gee, I should try knitting. I don't recall ever having knit anything. I was huge with needlepoint. Got a couple samples here. This was a kit that I picked up in graduate school at a bazaar, like one of those ladies' bazaars, way back in the 80s. And I needlepointed that. And this one over here, I got at a museum. I can't even remember where it was. I want to say it was the Met in New York, but I'm not positive. And I needlepointed that. So I needlepointed for years. Every time I'm on here, usually I have some of my work as a needle pointer behind me. And I always love wool. Now if I see needlepoint kits and they have, you know, like some kind of acrylic yarn or something, I'm like, no. And of course, a lot of times I'll just needlepoint from a book or something like that. I've kind of gotten away from the craft lately, but I'm looking forward when I retire, which is going to be soon, to getting back into it, because I still have some beautiful kits and books and lots of canvas and yarn that I've thrifted and stuff like that. Gorgeous tapestry yarn that I want to use. So I came into knitting primarily as a needle pointer slash canted thread cross stitcher. I also did a fair amount of that, not nearly as much as I did needlepoint, but I have some pieces. Maybe I'll share them on here sometime, because you probably do other crafts too, right? Besides just knitting or hiking or wearing heritage boots. So I decided, well, I really want to knit too. I want to make a scarf. And when I reached this profound conclusion, I was traveling with my twins in Winnipeg. We just went up there because it was accessible. It's only 6 hours from here. And it was a foreign country. And it was cheaper than going to Europe. And they have some awesome museums there. I really recommend Winnipeg. I don't know, for all I know, you're from there. But if you haven't visited there, there are a lot of great things to see. Maybe one time I can do a video about that. So I was in Winnipeg. We were staying at this Fort Garry Hotel, which is just this huge old haunted hotel. And it was not expensive. And we stayed in like the top floor. We had this huge room. And I was looking around on the internet. I was like, there's got to be a yarn store in Winnipeg, Canada, you know, Manitoba. So I found one and dragged my kids there and, you know, let my son know how big of a role he was playing and influencing me and guiding me towards trying new things. So I found a yarn store and the people were very nice. Unfortunately, it's been so long now, 9 or 10 years, I can't remember which store it was. So hopefully they're still in business. But I asked the personnel, they were very helpful. How can I get started? You know, so they talked me through like some choices of yarn patterns, needles, what I need to get started. And I started with this scarf. I picked up these bulky skeins of Peruvian wool from Cascade, and I just love the colors. I'm all about color. When it comes to working with wool, working with yarn, needlepoint, all that stuff, the color is really what sucks me in. Like this, I mean, you know, it's just fun. And I asked about needles, and she was super big on the Addy. These are Addy Click. So she sold me on these, and I'm going to confess something here right away. I cannot use these needles. I have used them, but I can never get the join to actually work to the point where it stays together. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. The other problem I have with these is these tips are, you know, they're not sharps, right? But they are just sharp enough for me. I also struggle with the metal just because it's so hard. And I think, I don't know, maybe my fingers as I age are just getting a little bit sensitive. So these are like kind of a backup set of needles for me if I have so many whips, which is typically the case going on, that I run out of other needles. By now I've bought quite a number of sets, as you can imagine. I'll share those at 1.2. That I have these as a backup and I can use them. And, you know, it's not that there's anything wrong with them. I'm just kind of lame. I don't know. Addie, and you'd think I'm a German professor, right? I should get along great with German needles, but there you go. So in any case, I did use them to knit this scarf. This was my first knitted project, my first FO, and I'm thinking that I'm not even sure. Well, I did pretty good. I did pretty well. I'll just kind of run this baby by you. There are a couple of mistakes, and I'm seeing one right here. I don't know what's going on here. Actually, maybe that's where I just joined some yarn, but obviously I didn't get that the way it was supposed to. There's somewhere in here, there's a hole. I don't know. Did I fix it? Well, there is a hole. Oh, here it is. Yeah. And I must have maybe just dropped a stitch. I don't know. Something happened. But it was a great learning experience. As you can tell, this is 1x1 rib. So I looked up YouTube videos. I looked up videos on how to cast on, how to knit a scarf, and discovered that, this is garter stitch, which is fine. I have a garter stitch scarf that I knitted. Obviously, for a scarf to look the same on both sides is nice. There's no law, right, against doing it differently, but that's what I wanted. So I learned how to do the rib knit, and then I learned how to bind off all on this scarf. One of the things that I think is kind of fun is just how my gauge shifted. You can tell, like, the widths change, and I do have a tendency sometimes to knit too tight, so that's something I'm always having to guard against and to work around, is not knitting too tight. Here's the label if you're interested. Lana Grande. This yarn is from Peru, and I still have enough left to make, I don't know, a couple of hats. I could make some hats to go with the scarf. But in any case, that's my story about how I became a knitter. And after that, I knit some washcloths. I could show those to you at some point. So I kind of got into that and tried different stitches. I remember I knit my mother-in-law an infinity scarf. At one time I knit a dog sweater that at some point or other got destroyed. That's okay. And I knit the Icelandic sweater, and I knit some mittens, which were challenging. But I actually managed to succeed with those. So that's nice. But in any case, I would really be curious about your knitting story. How did you get started knitting? Did you have a son in your life who got you going? Or maybe you are that son who took off with the knitting and your mom got you started. Who knows? In my novel, there are just about as many men who knit. I should say novels, plural. I'm on volume 6. There are just as many men who knit as there are women. I'm really trying to feature a diverse range of characters. So I have just a wide variety of people who are learning how to knit or experts at knitting, and come from all different backgrounds. And that makes it really a lot of fun. But in my head, right, they all have to have some kind of a journey that, like, how did they get started, So how did you get started? I'd be really interested if you just wanted to kind of share some insights on how you got hooked on knitting, how you discovered it, and how do you keep going with it, what motivates you, etc. You'd think that I would have learned at my mother's knee or something like that. Actually, my mother taught me crewel work, and she got me into some sewing and some crochet, because she crafted all the time. But she wasn't really a knitter. She wasn't a knitter. My brother, now, he was the knitter. Talk about a man who knits. So hopefully at some point I will be able to get some samples of his work to share with you, because he was very talented. He was a tailor. So that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed my little story time and my new needle points. And I look forward to seeing what you guys share. And be sure to like and subscribe. Tell your friends. We'd definitely love to get more people on board finding what's going on here. Give me some suggestions for content, and I'll be glad to try to do what I can. I love fiber. I love learning about fiber. I love trying new things and sharing what little I do know. So thanks for listening, and y'all have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.